Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time we're focusing on a molecule called BTLA and its role in cancer therapy.
Yeah.
But by the end of this deep dive, you'll understand how BTLA regulates the immune system,
Right.
how cancer cells can actually exploit BTLA for immune evasion,
Yeah.
and the potential of anti-BTLA therapies, one in particular called the antibody 6A6.
Okay.
Let's kick things off by answering the question, what is BTLA?
Well, BTLA is what we call an immune checkpoint molecule.
Okay.
So it's one of the ways that your body keeps your immune system in check.
Okay, so a checkpoint molecule, like a checkpoint on the road,
Exactly.
making sure that everything is going okay and functioning properly.
Yeah, it helps to prevent the immune system from going too fast and causing damage,
Okay,
like attacking your own body, which is really important for preventing autoimmune diseases.
that makes sense.
So it's basically like a safety feature, making sure things don't spin out of control.
Okay, so the immune system's like a car, and BTLA is the brakes,
Yeah, exactly.
making sure that things don't go haywire.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that cancer cells can actually hijack this system.
Oh,
So they can actually use BTLA to their advantage.
oh wow.
They essentially slam on the brakes and tell the immune system, nothing to see here, move along.
So the immune system is supposed to be like our protector,
Right.
and the cancer cells are kind of
Tricking it.
shielding themselves from that attack by using BTLA.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's not just theoretical either.
Oh, really?
Scientists have actually found that in cancers like melanoma, lung cancer, liver cancer, and colorectal cancers,
Wow.
having high levels of BTLA often means a worse outcome for the patient.
That's really interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so how does BTLA actually do that?
So BTLA is a receptor.
Okay.
It's found on various immune cells like T cells, B cells.
Right, those are like the big players in our immune system.
Exactly, and even those natural killer cells we've talked about before.
Yes.
And to put on the brakes, BTLA has to connect with a partner molecule called HVEM. When these two meet up, they trigger a cascade of signals inside the immune cell.
So kind of like a chain reaction,
Exactly.
leading to that standout.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's really specific molecules that get involved,
Okay.
like SHP1 and SHP2.
SHP1, SHP2.
And their job is basically to dampen the activity of T cells and B cells, preventing them from attacking the tumor effectively.
Okay, so they're basically telling the T cells and B cells like, shh,
Yeah, be quiet.
don't attack.
Yeah, don't cause any trouble.
Wow.
So the result is a less aggressive immune response, which is beneficial in some cases, like preventing autoimmune reactions,
Right.
but it's detrimental when it comes to fighting cancer.
So BTLA is like this double-edged sword.
Right.
It can protect us from autoimmunity,
Yes.
but it can also be used by cancer cells to escape the immune system.
Exactly. And that's where these therapies that I mentioned come in.
Right, the therapies that are going to release the brakes.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's actually what we're going to explore in the next part of this deep dive.
Yep.
But before we move on to that, I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page here.
Right, recap time.
So we've learned that BTLA is this checkpoint molecule, a sort of brake on the immune system.
Yep.
And that while it's super important for preventing autoimmune diseases, it can also be hijacked by cancer cells
Right.
to essentially evade the immune system's attack.
And we got into the nitty-gritty of how that BTLA HVEM interaction works,
Yeah.
triggering a cascade of events that ultimately dampen the immune response.
Right. So that's our key takeaway here.
Yes.
By understanding BTLA's role in both immune regulation and cancer evasion, we can start to develop strategies to manipulate this pathway.
Exactly. It's like learning the enemy's playbook so we can outsmart them.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And in part 2, we're going to delve into the exciting world of anti-BTLA therapies.
Yes.
And how they're being used to fight cancer.
Welcome back. We just finished talking all about BTLA and how it acts as a shield for cancer cells.
Yeah, basically making it so our immune system can't really do its job.
That's a good way to put it. But the good news is scientists are figuring out how to rip off that disguise.
Okay, so how do they expose those cancer cells?
Well, researchers have developed these amazing molecules called anti-BTLA antibodies.
Antibodies.
And they're designed to specifically target and block BTLA.
So they're like those targeted therapies we've talked about before.
Yeah, exactly, like guided missiles
Wow.
that go in and they're programmed to only attack that specific target.
Okay, so they're cutting off the communication lines between BTLA and HVEM.
Exactly.
That partner molecule we're talking about.
Right.
That helped to put the brakes on.
Exactly.
Okay, so is there like a specific antibody that is showing the most promise?
Yeah, there's one in particular called 6A6.
6A6.
And preclinical studies suggest that it can actually shrink tumors
Oh, wow.
and boost the activity of those cancer-fighting T cells.
So that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So there's actual hope for patients who haven't responded to other treatments.
Yeah, there's definitely reason to be optimistic. Clinical trials are currently underway to see how well it works in humans, and the early data is looking really promising.
So this is like really breaking stuff, right?
Yeah, this is the forefront.
I have a question, though.
Okay.
We've talked about how BTLA is expressed on a variety of different immune cells.
Right.
Does this 6A6 target all of them, or is it more specific?
That's a great question. So 6A6 is actually designed to block BTLA regardless of which cell it's on,
Okay.
which is important because we want to unleash the full power of the immune system, not just a single part of it.
Okay. So it's not like we're just going after T cells.
Right.
We're going after any cell that's expressing BTLA.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
So it's a broad spectrum approach.
I like that.
Yeah.
So are there other anti-BTLA antibodies in development too?
Yeah, definitely. Scientists are constantly working to improve these therapies.
Okay.
They're trying to make them more potent, more specific, and safer. You know, it's like upgrading your software.
Always trying to get the latest version.
Exactly.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, so it's not just one solution. It's a whole toolbox of potential therapies.
I like that. And I imagine that all of this can be tailored to different types of cancer
Right.
and different patients.
Exactly.
Are there certain types of cancer where this BTLA blockade seems particularly promising?
Yeah, for sure. One area where we're seeing a lot of excitement is melanoma,
Melanoma.
which is a type of skin cancer.
Right.
And melanoma can be really aggressive. And we often see that high BTLA levels in these tumors are linked to a poorer outcome.
So by blocking BTLA, we can potentially give these patients a better chance.
Hopefully. Clinical trials are ongoing right now, and the early results do look encouraging.
That's good. What about any other cancers?
Another type of cancer where it's showing potential is non-small cell lung cancer.
Yeah, we've talked about that one before on the show.
It's one of the most common and deadly forms of lung cancer.
Yeah, a really tough one to treat.
It is.
So this could actually make a difference.
Yeah, studies suggest that BTLA blockade, especially when combined with other immunotherapies, could significantly improve outcomes for these patients.
So it's not just a standalone treatment,
Right.
but something that could be added on
Right.
to what patients are already receiving.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really interesting. Are there any other cancers where this is being explored?
Yeah, so it's not just melanoma and lung cancer. Researchers are also exploring the potential in head and neck cancer,
Okay.
which can also be quite challenging to treat.
Wow, so it sounds like this could be a really valuable tool in the fight against a wide range of solid tumors.
It really could. But remember, BTLA isn't just found in solid tumors.
Oh,
It
right.
can also be found in blood cancers.
Right, like lymphoma and leukemia.
Yeah, you got it.
So this could actually be applicable to those types of cancers as well.
It's definitely on the radar. BTLA is often overexpressed in certain lymphomas and leukemias.
Oh, wow. Meaning there's a lot of potential for targeted therapy there.
So even though the cancers are so different, the underlying mechanism
Right.
is the same.
Yeah, the BTLA break is similar.
That's fascinating. So it's like a master key that can work on all these different cancers.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating area of research.
Hmm.
And the potential impact on patients' lives could be enormous.
Okay, so we've talked about all these different types of cancer where BTLA blockade might be effective, but how is it actually being used in the clinic?
So one way is as a monotherapy,
Monotherapy.
meaning it's given on its own. This is being tested in several clinical trials for different cancer types.
Okay.
But there's also a lot of interest in combining BTLA blockade with other treatments.
Right. We've kind of touched on that a little bit. Can you give us some specific examples of how these combinations might work?
Yeah, so one really exciting area is combining BTLA blockade with other checkpoint inhibitors.
So like PD-1
Oh.
and CTLA-4.
Yes.
Those other checkpoint molecules that can be targeted.
Yeah, so the idea is that by hitting multiple checkpoints at once, we're really putting the cancer in a tough spot.
Exactly. We want to create a more powerful and sustained immune response against the cancer.
This is like launching this multi-pronged attack.
Exactly.
And there's evidence to suggest that this is actually going to work.
Yeah, the early evidence suggests that this approach could be very effective.
Wow.
Clinical trials are underway to test various combinations of checkpoint inhibitors, including BTLA blockade.
That's Incredible.
Oh.
It sounds like we're entering this new era of personalized cancer treatment where doctors can tailor therapies to each patient.
That's definitely the direction we're heading in. And BTLA blockade is going to play a big role in that.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I've learned so much about BTLA blockade.
You too.
And all the different types of cancer that it might be effective against.
Yeah.
But there's one more crucial aspect that I think we need to discuss,
Okay.
and that's the challenges
Right.
and future directions of this therapy. Because with every new therapy comes its own set of hurdles and things we need to overcome.
That's right. And that's what we're going to talk about in the final part of this deep dive. We'll go over those challenges and what the future holds for this field of cancer research.
And we are back for the final part of our BTLA deep dive.
Yes.
We've learned how it works.
Right.
We've learned about its role in cancer
Yes.
and all that amazing potential of these anti-BTLA therapies.
Definitely. But, we have to understand
Yeah.
the challenges,
Right.
potential risks.
Yeah, because as with anything,
Yeah.
especially in the medical field,
Right.
there's always things that we need to be cautious of
Right.
and aware of
Yes.
and continue to work on.
Yes, exactly.
So what are some of those key challenges that researchers are facing right now?
Well, one of the most important considerations with any immunotherapy, including BTLA blockade, is the potential for side effects.
Right, because we've talked a little bit before about those immune-related adverse events.
Yes.
Or IRAEs, as they're called.
Exactly.
Can you kind of break down for us what types of side effects we might see?
So basically, when we take the brakes off the immune system, we run the risk of it becoming overactive and attacking healthy tissues.
Okay, so it's like the immune system is so ready to fight that it sometimes starts
Yeah.
attacking things it shouldn't be attacking.
Exactly. And these IRAEs can affect various organs in the body.
So what are some of the common ones that we might see with BTLA blockade?
Some of the ones we're seeing in clinical trials include colitis,
Colitis.
which is inflammation of the colon, and pneumonitis,
Pneumonitis.
which affects the lungs.
Okay. And these can range in severity.
Absolutely. Some patients might experience mild symptoms, while others might have more serious complications.
So close monitoring is super important.
Yes, exactly. Close monitoring and careful management of these side effects is crucial.
So it's this balancing act
Right.
of wanting to release the power of the immune system,
Yes.
but also make sure that it doesn't go overboard.
Yes.
That's really interesting. And I imagine that researchers are working on this like all the time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're investigating different dosing strategies, ways to identify patients who might be more susceptible to IRAEs, and new approaches to manage these side effects effectively.
That's good.
Yeah.
This is really reassuring to know. But let's switch gears for a sec and talk about resistance.
Okay.
We've seen it with other cancer treatments.
Yeah.
Cancer cells are very smart.
Yes, they're very adaptable.
They figure out ways to escape
Yeah.
our treatment.
Just like they're master escape artists.
So is BTLA blockade susceptible to that as well?
You're right. Cancer cells are incredibly adaptable, and they're constantly evolving and finding ways to evade even our most sophisticated therapies.
So how might they develop resistance to this BTLA blockade? What are some of the tricks they might use?
So one possibility is that they might upregulate other inhibitory receptors.
Okay.
So essentially finding alternative pathways to suppress the immune system.
So like backup brakes?
Exactly. They're always looking for ways to stay one step ahead. Another possibility is that they might alter their tumor microenvironment.
The surrounding area?
Yeah, making it less hospitable to immune cells.
Oh, wow. So they're kind of like
Shielding themselves.
building a fortress.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. That's crazy.
And this is why the ongoing research is so crucial. Scientists are working tirelessly to understand these resistance mechanisms and develop strategies to overcome them.
Yeah, because it really is like this back and forth
They did.
between the scientists
Yes.
and the cancer cell.
Right, a constant arms race.
It's a very challenging field.
It is.
But it seems like there's so much promising research on the horizon. What are some of the key areas that future studies are going to focus on?
Well, one major priority is identifying biomarkers.
Biomarkers.
You know those telltale signs that can predict which patients are most likely to benefit from BTLA blockade?
So this is like the personalized medicine approach.
Exactly.
Figuring out who this is going to work best in.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting. Imagine a future where we can analyze a patient's tumor, identify specific biomarkers, and then use that information to determine the most effective treatment strategy.
That would be incredible.
Like,
No more guessing.
right.
It's like, this is going to work for you.
Exactly.
Amazing. And that's what researchers are working on right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of research underway to identify those key biomarkers for BTLA blockade.
That's great. And then what about combination therapies?
Right.
We talked about that a little bit before, but I think it's worth revisiting. Why are these combination therapies so promising?
Well, the idea is that by combining anti-BTLA antibodies with other immunomodulatory agents, we can hit cancer cells from multiple angles, right?
So it's like that multi-pronged approach again,
Exactly.
attacking it from all sides.
We're not just releasing one brake, we're targeting multiple pathways simultaneously to create a more powerful and sustained immune response.
So this could involve BTLA blockade with other checkpoint inhibitors,
Right.
cytokines, vaccines.
Exactly.
Wow.
There are so many possibilities, and researchers are exploring a wide range of combinations.
It's pretty amazing. It's like all these researchers working together to come up with
It is.
this master plan.
It's like an orchestra of immune responses all working in harmony to eliminate the cancer.
I love that. This has been a really incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about BTLA
Me too. It's so fascinating.
and its potential to really revolutionize cancer treatment. We've talked about the science,
Right.
the challenges,
The possibilities.
and all the exciting possibilities
Yes.
that are ahead.
Exactly.
And even though we know there are hurdles to overcome,
Yes.
the progress that's been made
Oh, yeah.
is really remarkable.
It is. It's a testament to all the scientists and clinicians around the world who are working tirelessly to improve the lives of people with cancer.
And we can't forget the patients
Yes.
who participate in these clinical trials
Yes, absolutely.
and really contribute to the advancement of knowledge in this field.
Their courage and commitment are essential to this progress.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive, and I think we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
But hopefully this has given our listeners a good overview
Yeah.
of BTLA
Right, and all of its potential.
and the hope that it holds for the future of cancer treatment.
Absolutely.
So to our listeners, if you're interested in learning more about this, we encourage you to do so.
Yeah, check out the show notes.
There are a lot of resources available online, and we'll link to some of those.
Yeah.
And as always, we love to hear from our listeners.
Yes.
So feel free to reach out with any thoughts
Yeah,
or questions that you may have.
definitely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
And until next time, stay curious.